Disclaimer. None of the songs, including intro, artworks, including thumbnail, or characters in the video are mine. This is not an accurate portrayal of the characters. This is not a defamation of character either. This is only for entertainment. Warning. Foul language, grammatical mistakes, typographical errors. Haikyu startled awake when he heard a loud banging downstairs. He accidentally kicked Atsumu off the bed as he scrambled to get out of it. They shared a bed since they were both too scared to sleep alone. He muttered a quick apology to Atsumu when he heard a groan of pain, only to give the other side of the bed, because he can't see Atsumu on the floor. A deadpan look when he saw his best friend's hand pull the blanket off the bed. He went to see what Atsumu was up to only to see that he rolled himself in the blanket like a burrito and continued to sleep on the floor. He shook his head with a fond sigh and went downstairs for who he assumes is Kise and his Gucci gang. He opened the door and lo and behold, it really was Kise and his gang of giant high schoolers, except for the one with the black hair who has a normal height. Haikyu could almost tear up in happiness at seeing someone shorter than him. Kise. Haikyu yawned. You didn't call. Haikyu was focused on his son so he didn't notice the blush on one of Kise's friends. Who could blame them really? A very pretty Haikyu opened the door after all. Haikyu-chi. Good morning. I did send a text. I called too but your phone couldn't be reached. Haikyu yawned again. He forgot that his and Atsumu's phones were switched off. Well, come in then. Make yourself comfortable while we get ready. You can watch a movie if you want to. Sorry for the delay. No problem Haikyu-chi. Oh right. These are my friends. This is Kurokachi. Haikyu blinked, then looked around as his eyebrows furrowed in confusion. Hello. Haikyu blinked, then blinked again. His sleep-addled brain not processing that there's suddenly a person in front of him. When he did, he screamed. What the fuck? Where did you come from? I was here the entire time. No the fuck you're not. I was though. I'm Kuroko Tetsuya. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Wait. Don't just change the subject. The others were laughing, happy to see someone else being a victim of Kuroko. Haikyu was confused. How could he not notice someone with a bright blue hair in front of him? Maybe it's because he's still sleepy. And Kagamichi. Kise pointed to the one with the dark red hair. He continued introducing them, ignoring the previous conversation. Midorimachi. That's a long ass name. The green-haired one. Takauchi, the black-haired one. And last but definitely not the least, my boyfriend, Aominachi, the dark blue-haired one. It's not everybody since the others couldn't come. Guys this is Haikyu-chi. Hey, Haikyu Toru here. Nice to meet you and all that. The others looked at him amused as he clearly wasn't fully awake yet. Anyway, where's Atsumachi? Haikyu yawned again and answered seriously. Dead. What? He wrapped himself in the blanket like a mummy and is still sleeping. Oh. Wanna go wake him up? Haikyu was now fully awake and had a mischievous smile on his face that only one person noticed but didn't say anything because they were too busy admiring him. Sure. Haikyu took them to the room and proudly showed them a rolled up blanket on the floor that they assume contains Atsumu. Kise-kun. Could you please wake Tsumu babe up for me? I need to take a bath. Haiku's request was oozing in innocence and saccharine sweetness. His lips were also twitching like he's desperately trying to hold in a laugh. This time, no one noticed and they all agreed to wake Atsumu up. How hard could it be? It's not like they're waking the dead or a sleeping dragon. It turns out they were trying to wake a dead dragon. At first, they tried to be gentle. That did not work. Atsumu didn't even so much as flinch. They started shouting, all of them at once even and still no response. They then tried to shake him awake but still nothing. That's when they realized that Atsumu was lying face down. They didn't know it before as he was completely inside the blanket and they could only see the top of his head if they peek inside. They flipped him over and tried to pull the blanket down so they could see his face. It was utterly adorable and more than one person cooed at the sight. One turned away with a blush though. They then tried to annoy him awake by poking his cheek only to have to resort to pulling on them when he still didn't wake up. Bad move. He snarled and tried to bite the fingers of anyone who would touch him and or kick anyone away using both feet as they are still together inside the blanket. All of this while he's still sleeping. They got him to wake up by all of them shaking his entire body while shouting at him to wake up. This bitch then slowly blinked, opened his eyes as if he was gently caressed awake rather than shaken like a damn vending machine. He slowly looked around, studying each stranger that woke him up until his eyes landed on Kise. PFFT. I knew I would dream of you high school titan. PFFT. PFFT. Kise and Takao snickered to themselves as Atsumu looked at all of them again with half-lidded eyes. I didn't know the Teletubbies were titans. They were all looking at him with disbelief while Kise and Takao were wheezing on the floor. Even Kiruko was smiling to himself. Shinza wo Sasage fuck you. With that whispered declaration, Atsumu fell asleep again. Kise and Takao were laughing themselves to death on the floor. Kiruko was snickering to himself and the other three were still staring at Atsumu in disbelief. They turned around when they heard a giggle at the door, only to see Oikoa laughing at them. What happened to waking up Tsumu, babe? You set us up. It's impossible to wake him up. Oikoa smiled innocently, but this time, everybody saw it for what it really was. No, it's not, Oikoa replied, his smile turning into a smirk. Stop lying. It is not, is to, is not, is to, is not. Yeah? Prove it then. Kagami challenged with a screech, his face smug yet irritated. Kise and Takao burst out laughing again. Amine was laughing too, although quieter than the two. Midorima was smiling to himself and Kiruko was snickering. They are all very happy to see Kagami miserable. Oikoa was just leaning on the door, watching Kagami blow a fuse with a smile showing how much he's enjoying this. His eyes shined with mirth. Gladly, Oikoa cleared his throat as the others quieted down, waiting to see what he would do. Tsumu babe, Sakusa's here, Oikoa said, not shouted, with a grin on his face, and Kagami looked at him with an "are you serious" expression while the others were watching with amusement and Kiruko was just watching with a blank face, but his eyes also shined with amusement. Kagami's entire face was twitching in irritation, but before he could talk, they heard a loud thud which made everybody turn their heads in surprise. Atsumu, who was lying still as the dead on the floor just a second ago, was now up and struggling on his feet. The dizziness at suddenly getting up along with the fact that he's still in the blanket burrito made him unbalanced and he fell down on Midorima, his face meeting. Omi. A few seconds of quiet passed before Oikoa burst out laughing. Did you seriously just mistake a plush panda for your boyfriend? Atsumu blinked, then blinked again. Ha. It looks like him though. The plush panda in question is Midorima's lucky item of the day, and yes, it did look a lot like Sakusa. It doesn't help that it was also wearing a mask. I can almost hear it telling me to fuck off. Oikoa laughed again, but this one had a slight tinge of bitterness as Atsumu chuckled dryly too. This time, everyone noticed. Oikoa and Atsumu fit in perfectly with the group. They also gained a new Sparkles. Bad bitch Sparkles. In the form of Takao, and a new mother in the form of Kiruko. They both complained at getting adopted by someone younger than them, and they made the mistake of commenting on Kiruko's childlike appearance and height, and well, they are now too scared to argue with him. Kiruko couldn't help himself though. Here are two people who look so strong, but just a few hours spent with them made cracks become obvious. There was something wrong with the new members of their squad. They don't know what, just that they know there's something. Oikoa and Atsumu also treasure their new friends. They are both trying very hard to stay civil and respectful, but they slip up sometimes and stiffen in wait at the rebuke, only to stumble in surprise when their comments were received with either a laugh or another snarky reply. Still though, they haven't been this free in such a long time, and they can't help but miss the past and resent themselves even more for causing a rift between them and their volleyball friends. Days passed, and what they thought was a best friend vacation immediately evolved into a full squad hangout every day. They also met the other members of the basketball squad, although only through phone and only for a few minutes since they were busy, so they don't really know them that much. In between all of this, they discovered a lot about them, including but not limited to their pasts and why they like to antagonize Kagami. That Amine and Kagami were both gluttons. Aomine is a horn dog. Midorima may seem mature, but he's actually just a very awkward child, and that against all odds. Kagami has the most common sense out of everybody. They both also enjoyed pretending to date each other because they felt left out amongst all the couples. Kise and Aomine is a very cute couple, if not a bit X-rated, mostly because of Aomine. Kagami and Kuruko is a funny couple since Kuruko can say the most ridiculous things with a straight face, then Kagami, hot-tempered as always, would shout common sense at him. Midorima and Takao were similar to them except when Midorima spouts something unbelievable, Takao would only go against it for a few moments before going with whatever Midorima said. Why are we in a music store? I honestly don't know. They are all standing awkwardly by the guitar section. None of them knew how or why they were even in a music store, but somehow they couldn't make themselves leave. Atsumu sighed and picked up a guitar. He faced Oikawa and strummed.
I love you, bitch.
Oh my god.
I ain't gonna never stop loving you, bitch.
They all laughed and spread out to mess about in the store. They got kicked out. What is that? They looked to see where he was pointing at and gasped when they saw alien, Dobby, baby golem, a mutated Balzac. They all choked out a laugh at Atsumu's answer. It's a cat. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Cats are cute. That is not. It is though. They all looked at him like he grew another head. I don't discriminate. You do against dogs. I don't like dogs. Heathen. I'm not. Well, whatever you are, that most definitely isn't a cat. Yes, it is. It's a hairless cat. Takeo made a dying noise in his throat. Who the fuck ordered that? I get that most people like hairless pussies, but that's a bit too much. Aominachi. Oikawa made a sound and they all looked to see him all stiff and pale. Oh my god, it's touching me. They looked down and saw the cat rubbing itself on Oikawa's feet. It's cute. Not, it's not. Check your eyes, Bakagami. Shut up, Ahomine. Oikawa finally looked down and saw the cat still rubbing itself on his feet, purring. The cat looked up at Oikawa with big pleading eyes and meowed quietly. Oh my god, it's so cute. He picked the cat up and cuddled it close to him, keeping it warm. Poor baby. Are you cold? Don't worry. Mommy's got you. Oikawa kept on baby talking the kitten while it snuggles closer to him. It's mine now.
Precious.
Babe, seriously? Shh babe. It's an alien. Atsumu facepalmed while the others all watched Oikawa with a weird mix of amusement and disgust. Except for one who was watching him with fondness and a blush. Kagami can't sleep, which is why he noticed when someone got out of the bed. He turned around just in time to see Oikawa walk out the door. He didn't think anything of it and tried to sleep again. He was successful, but he woke up only a few hours later. He sighed in frustration as he sat up. He saw that Oikawa was already back. He sighed again and stretched. When he stood up, he noticed that there was something off. He went closer to Oikawa's bed only to find it filled with pillows. Raising an eyebrow in confusion, he put the blanket back and went downstairs where the smell of baked goods filled the air. He went straight to the kitchen and stood in shock at the sight of cakes, breads, cookies and other sweets that could feed an entire village. He moved his eyes to Oikawa, who was frantically mixing something. What are you doing? Oikawa jumped in shock at the sudden noise. Kagami-chan. I'm baking. I can see that. Why are you baking at 4 in the morning? I couldn't sleep. Kagami squinted his eyes and studied Oikawa. That's when he noticed how frazzled he looked. Is he stress baking? Kagami stepped into the kitchen as he checked the sweets again. Well, would you like my help? There are too much sweets already. Maybe we could cook appetizers and other non-sweet things? Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I just need to finish this first. Kagami stepped forward and gently took the bowl away from Oikawa. Maybe I should finish up here and you could just put away all the food so we could have more space for later? Oikawa nodded, his body shaking and his fingers were fidgeting. Yeah, I'll go do that. He took a hesitant step back and went to put away the desserts. Oikawa-san? Yes? What were you baking again? Can I have the recipe? Oikawa blinked. Oh, it's on the cookbook there. The one on the right page. Kagami looked at the cookbook and read the name of the dish. S'mores custard cake, huh? Yeah. Oikawa bit his lip, still fidgeting. Are you sure you can handle it? Yeah, I'm a fairly good cook. Oh, okay. I'll just go then. Oikawa started putting away the desserts but would glance at Kagami from time to time while Kagami continued baking, ignoring Oikawa's gaze and silently proving his competence in the kitchen. Kagami didn't ask why he was stress baking, but if he had to take a guess, it would probably the silent phone on the counter that Oikawa kept on glancing at. Atsumu woke up while it's still dark outside. He got up from his bed and studied the others there. Oikawa invited Kise and his Gucci gang to stay with them for the remainder of their vacation. Maybe it was dangerous to invite people you've only known for a few days into your home, but they felt really comfortable with the Skittles squad. Maybe it was them just being desperate to fit in for once, but they both felt like they could trust these people with their lives. Or maybe that's just his ego that need constant stroking talking again. He studied them and noticed that one bed was empty. Wonder where Kagami-kun is? Atsumu shrugged and went out to the balcony, clutching his phone. Atsumu-san. Atsumu jumped at the noise, dropping his phone off the balcony. His instincts kicked in and he immediately bent over the railing in an attempt to catch it, but his arm was too short. A hand circled his waist and another one caught his phone. Atsumu sighed in relief. Sorry. Midorima released Atsumu and took a step back as he handed the phone to Atsumu. It's fine, Midorima-kun. I was just surprised. Atsumu swallowed as he clutched the phone to his chest with trembling hands. Midorima took note of this but didn't say anything. Anyway, what are you doing up? I could ask you the same thing. Atsumu shrugged. I woke up and couldn't sleep. Same. A thought entered Atsumu's mind and he bit his lip in guilt. I didn't wake you up, right? Midorima smiled slightly. I was already awake when you left. And since I couldn't sleep, I thought I'd join you. If you don't mind, that is. No, it's fine. I'm actually happy to have company. Midorima hummed in reply and stepped towards the railing. They both stood there, just gazing at nowhere in silence. People often say that Midorima's at tsundere. He's not. He just has a hard time expressing his thoughts, and sometimes, when he put them into words, they come out blunt and tactless. Which is probably why he couldn't stop himself from asking, so, what's your problem with your phone? Atsumu blinked in surprise but still answered, oh. Core babe and I have an ongoing challenge. We switched our phones off and ignore our boyfriends for the entire vacation. Don't say it. Don't say it. That's stupid. Fuck. Midorima waited in tense silence at the rebuke, but all he got was a breathless laugh. He blinked in confusion and looked at Atsumu. Yeah, probably. We had a fight, so you could say it's punishment too. But that's why we're going to Tokyo to surprise them immediately after. Well, if you had a fight before going here, then they must terribly miss you. Atsumu swallowed, feeling his eyes heat up. Haha, yeah. Midorima studied Atsumu. Ne Atsumu-san. Why do you look like you don't believe? You're really blunt, you know that? Midorima stiffened, ready to apologize, but Atsumu just waved his hand with a chuckle. I'm not mad. And I'm not judging you. Omi's like that too. Omi is your boyfriend, right? Yeah. You're both very similar. Really? Yeah. Let me guess. People call you at tsundere too, right? Midorima nodded with a pout and Atsumu giggled. Yeah. Omi's like that too. He has a hard time expressing his thoughts and feelings. He's called the too blunt jerk, you know. Really? Yeah. And it doesn't bother you? Haha, no. I love Omi. Love. As a teenager, Midorima's heard a lot about love and relationships. He's heard about how giddy it can make someone feel. How being in love is the best feeling in the world. Personally, he thinks it's all fake. But standing there and watching as Atsumu ramble on and on about his boyfriend with the biggest smile on his face, Midorima's inclined to believe. At the same time, he still thinks it's a load of lies. Because as Atsumu looked so awestruck, so in love, he looked pained too. His eyes look sad and bitter. His smile, while big and wide, feels fake. And the words he's speaking, while full of love, felt like something he's using to convince himself. Why do you speak of love like it's the best thing in the world when you look like it's the most painful one? Question. Should I add in Atsumu's accent and Midorima's verbal tick in the next episodes, or keep it as is? I keep forgetting to edit their dialogues. So you might have noticed that some names have various pronunciations. But that's because the voiceover kept on pronouncing their names wrong if spelled correctly. Like Kise is pronounced as Kai, so I spell it as Keysh for it to pronounce Kise, and sometimes I miss some names.